I was saying Ameen, 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 Ameen to my poor father, man. May God relieve him of anything he's witnessing right now as far as the hereafter. It is Thursday morning, May the 9th, 2012, probably about after 5:30, and I am lamenting his death. I miss you, my father. I should say. In real Tawheed, real divine belief, we would say, O Lord, O benefactor, source of all good and light, I miss my father. I ask your majesty, please, to grant him clemency and mercy in the state that he's in right now, and to forego any of the negligence that he may have meted out towards my brother and myself. Lord, O majesty of might and generosity, source of all things fragrant and good, nullifier and eliminator of everything evil and vile, please, majesty, grant my father mercy for a while, until the day of judgment and the day which we will all accrue, a day when only you, the evident and the true. See, rhymical speaking, rhyming takes practice, and Afro-Americans were kept so bedeviled with poverty and intense stench, poverty and intense homelessness and instability, not able, as one Jamaican who was a Muslim in Singapore, who was actually one of the fastest PR cases when it was traditionally hard, before PR, permanent residence, was doled out to any Caucasian person or foreigner with wealth. He got PR in the hard old days in Singapore, and he was one of the fastest cases in history. He got in less than 3 or 2 months, PR. He's a Jamaican, and he told me, and was very aristocratic, because a lot of people of the Caribbean ancestry, they look down on American Negroes. They don't like us. He said that it seems you had a good run of it. He said, it seems that everywhere you try to stabilize or to lock down roots, you get kicked out, or at some force, you're sort of kicked out, you're ejected. You can't stay there. You're not able to stay and gain economic stability. He said that. He said, I noticed that over again from what I see and what I've heard from you. You can't lock down roots or be stable in places that you like. Particularly places that you like, Adam, you're not able to stay in those places. When you like those places, you're always forced to leave. So he said you had a good run of it, but he said, why don't you go back to the States, rebuild yourself, and establish yourself there before you come back here. So this is what the States have done to me. And I find out it's primarily because I'm so black, not only black, well, what you would call Afro, but so Afro. In fact, which becomes, as I told you, the image that they want to sell of Afro-Americans being high Creole or high yellow, light skin or reddish skin color. As I forgot to finish, the Saudi intelligence agent pulled me to the side as I was making Umrah and said, you don't appear to look like Afro-Americans. Most Afro-Americans we have observed are reddish or lightish complexion. You don't seem Afro-American. You might be an African, imitating, going through on a ill-gotten passport, things like that, a passport, gotten by ill means or whatever. We have to really verify you and check. Yeah, this kind of stuff, man, I would go through. So I find out, because also I'm not very big, my body's very slender and slight, I can always remember being hungry, man, not eating properly. And my mother said, growing up, a Spanish blanquita lady gave me a certain solution of spices or something. That was the only reason why I started eating. But I didn't know if Miss Mentos used any magic or sihr. But she said I wouldn't eat food at all. And that is one of the signs of sihr, sorcery, when a child doesn't eat at all. I mean, most children are like hungry little rabbits and rats, the way we eat. Little rugrats is the name we're called in the U.S. They created a name for children called rugrats. But she said I wouldn't eat. And that is a sign of what I told you. Someone vouchsafed that my father, my mother, and myself would suffer for the misery that my father caused through infidelity. I don't believe it was my brother's mother, Edna, who was a rightful wife of my father. or another woman who loved my father with madness named Jeanette. I'm not sure who did it. But there was also a problem where there was a Tanzanian sheikh who I used to live with when I lost my passport. I had my passport stolen in Tanzania, and the U.S. government had so much doubt about me that they let me languish in Tanzania 3+ months without any identification, no passport, no nothing. There was a sheikh I used to stay with, and there was a Yemenis woman, a Tanzanian of pure Yemenis ancestry and wide buttocks, heavy buttocks and hips, who he liked, and that woman had affections towards me. And she did something with me, but it wasn't zina, but it was intimate touching, and nobody knew about this because she had me help her with some groceries, seen her casually, and then immediately lunged upon me shortly thereafter and wanted me to stay, and she lived alone, and then it started. May Allah forgive me. So the sheikh having the ability to communicate with the jinn, as well as a vision with the jinn. The jinn, every human being has what they call a Quran, which is a form of a jinn that's a sign, sort of like a tempter, to offer negative temptations. They're not good. The Quran is not good. The Quran is to test you, to pull you towards what we call the Diablos, the Iblis, the Shaitan, what you call Satan in Western culture. He is a helper towards your temptations. So with the communication of the jinn, some human beings in Sufism and Tasawwuf, as well as which is a deviant brand of Islam, which I believe, as well as other people who deal with the marabot or the bobo, or dabbling into blood and jinn writing and other stuff, things that look like mixing water and other weird things that you never heard of from the Quran and Hadith. These people are able to communicate, and they find out, so these other jinn can communicate with your Quran and get events, and somehow it was communicated that I touched, the woman, that the sheikh did not communicate publicly to anybody that he wanted this woman, because a lot of Tanzanian black men want the women of a lighter complexion, particularly those, since I forget the name of the guy who forcibly annexed, when they took Zanzibar, the island of Zanzibar, forcibly intermarried, the local Arab, Omani, and other women of Indian ancestry forced the Negro men on them by force to take them and, screaming and pulling on them. I forget the name of that man. So a lot of them were resentful, the older generation, about that force to open up their legs to these big, huge penises. And I saw the biggest penis in the world that I've ever seen, and I never saw one aside from my own, from a man walking who was derelict in Tanzania with dreadlocks. It was massive. It must have been 15, 18, or 20 inches, and maybe almost 2 inches in girth. And he was just walking without any care in the world, naked in Dar es Salaam, just down from the U.S. Embassy in Dar es Salaam, down maybe several blocks or more, as I had to turn that way to go to an area called Kinondoni, which was like the slums, and I stayed in Kinondoni while waiting for a new passport. So the thing is, this is the homelessness that these racist, filthy bigots, both Afro-American bigots, as well as Anglo-Celtic, European ancestry bigots, and a number of Semitic ancestry bigots. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but when I talk about bigotry, I'm talking about anti-Afro ethnic bigotry, and to the point, more specific, anti-Afro male bigotry. This is predominantly what it is, anti-Afro male. The female they're not threatened by too much, but the male worries them intensely. This is the kind of lifestyle they want you to live before they can affect your final demise, which is what they hope for is miserable death. These people are, to call them vermin and filth is not sufficient, Aki. It's not even suffice, and they're much better looking than we are. These people are, my God, so I tried to stay away from them to the point where if I could get my aviation ratings, I would go work in the farthest end, darkest recess of probably Irian Jaya or some other place where I can get away from the scourge of their presence as well as their bigotries. Good flying in India, Irian Jaya, in those regions, Papua New Guinea, very challenging flying. Very, very, very challenging.